Let's start with that first top story. Former BOSASA Chief Operating Officer Angelo Agrizzi has been denied bail in his corruption case. Agrizzi captured the attention of South Africa last year when he turned whistleblower and told the Zondo Commission of Inquiry that for years his company BOSASA had paid off state officials to get lucrative tenders. But now the state says he's lying about his assets and has been sending money to Italy. Agrizzi appeared alongside his co-accused, former ANC MP Vincent Smith, who accepted payment from Agrizzi. Smith says it was a loan, but Agrizzi says it was a bribe from BOSASA to keep quiet about state contracts. They are both charged with corruption, while Smith faces an additional charge of fraud. Let's listen to State Advocate Arno Rousseau describing Agrizzi as a flight risk.
Indeed, Your Worship. Worship, if we look at the dates on which the money was sent out, you heard from my learned colleague that at the time he was already in discussions with the prosecution. The BOSASA matter that he stands accused on in the Commercial Crime Court in Pretoria comes from 2006. It was clear that he knew that his game was up, and he set up, and he sent out this money, as my learned colleague informed this court, while he was in talks with the prosecution. And then the talk stopped, and he went to the State Capture Commission. And as I say, in the meantime, he started sending out money and acquiring foreign assets. So that, coupled with the fact that he did not disclose it, is indicative of the fact that he intends to abscond at some stage or another.
Well, Agrizzi's lawyer says they were not expecting the state to oppose bail at all. That was a surprise. The magistrate, Philip Venter, agreed and denied the bail request.
The biggest headache of the National Prosecuting Authority in I'll refer to it as the Gupta saga, and their accountability is extradition to South Africa to stand trial in order to account for the allegations against them. I cannot contribute to yet another name being added to that headache. Mr. Agrizzi, after all considered, your application for bail is dismissed.
To discuss, we're now joined by SABC reporter Samkele Maseko. So Samkele, tell us more. Agrizzi is in jail on oxygen. He's apparently not well, and he's been sending lots of money overseas.
Yes, indeed, Angelo Agrizzi is indeed not out on bail. He's behind bars as we speak. He was denied bail at the Palm Beach Magistrates Court. He seemingly has over 30 million rand worth of assets abroad, which he has not declared to law enforcement agencies in his first court appearance at the Commercial Crimes Court in Pretoria. He never declared these assets, and this morning, in his filing affidavit for bail at the Palm Beach Magistrates Court, he never declared these assets. It had to take Advocate Arno Rousseau of the investigative of the NPA rather to come up with an affidavit. Angelo Agrizzi had transferred over 11.8 million rand to his offshore account in Italy between the period of December to 2018 and also January 2019, and later on in that year had also transferred over 11.9 million rand to his wife's offshore account in Italy, and had purchased a luxurious vehicle in Italy and a villa where he was seemingly going to abscond from South Africa and flee the country to go and hide and basically create a situation like the Gupta brothers, in the words of Magistrate Philip Venter of the South African government and the NPA, failing to extradite the particular individual who's linked to allegations of corruption and fraud in the country. And interestingly, Angelo Agrizzi and his wife don't have any assets registered to their name here in South Africa. All of the assets that they have are registered to the Agrizzi Family Trust, which makes it practically impossible for the government and for the asset forfeiture units to attach these particular assets. But Angelo Agrizzi's non-disclosure of these assets that he has shifted abroad have behind bars and bail being denied, and also its health condition not superseding the issue of justice for those who are alleged to be corrupt and to be a flight risk. To quote Advocate, to quote Magistrate Venter, quote, "I do not want to contribute to the headache of the South African government and the NPA of yet another failed extradition," end of quote.
In a bizarre moment today, Daniel Wiltz, the lawyer for Agrizzi himself, said that we can't even be sure that BOSASA CEO Gavin Watson is really dead. Can you tell us about that or give us the context?
What's rather interesting is that this issue of the death of Gavin Watson has been going on for some time now. Since his death, many South Africans have questioned whether he did really pass away or it was just a myth and he practically just faked his death. Advocate Witz letting the cat out of the bag and alleging that indeed Gavin Watson may still be alive, but later on in the closing proceedings came back to withdraw his statement in saying that he's not too sure, and he apologizes for any harm that may be caused to the Watson family in the remarks that he had made, and basically made a U-turn on his earlier remarks when he read the affidavit.
All right, and then finally, we'll speak to the National Prosecuting Authority now. But Agrizzi himself, you would think maybe he would turn state witness, but he's a normal accused here, right?
The state, essentially, the wheels of justice are turning. Angelo Agrizzi finds himself going earlier into office this evening. Magistrate Philip Venter did acknowledge and did applaud Angelo Agrizzi for his bravery in becoming a whistleblower and lifting the lid of all the kind of worms that were happening at African Global Operations, formerly trading as BOSASA. And the magistrate saying that he's particularly convinced that there is a prima facie case against Angelo Agrizzi, and he needs to answer for some of the questions. He also saying that he's convinced that the state compiled compelling arguments in detailing how Angelo Agrizzi is a flight risk, particularly of all the assets he did not declare to law enforcement agencies, particularly for the first time around when he was arrested in the case that involves people like Lindam T. He's essentially a flight risk, and the state coming and having that ducks in a row when it comes to the finances of Angelo Agrizzi and the resources that have essentially been taken out of South Africa and sent to Italy, and the purchases that he's done of that luxurious villa, the luxurious vehicle, and over 30 million rand of movable assets that are currently abroad, which essentially means that Angelo Agrizzi, if he were to flee South Africa, he'd live a very comfortable life in Italy, and it would be difficult to extradite him back to our shores for prosecution.
All right, thank you for a wrap of what happened today. SABC News reporter Samkele Maseko.